Mom picked my step-siblings and told me to split my late dad's college fund with them or be out in 7 days. Before I dive into all that, let me explain a few things. I am 17 years old and still live at home with my mom, her husband, my stepdad, and his 2 kids. I have a stepbrother named Jackson who is a year older than me, and a stepsister named Emma who is 2 years younger. We all attend the same high school, but we are not close. We do not hang out, we do not talk much, and honestly, it has always felt like we were strangers living under the same roof. My mom married their dad 3 years ago after dating him for almost 5 years. But we had already been living together for 6 years, so that wedding felt more like paperwork than anything else. My own dad passed away when I was just a kid. I do not have many memories of him, just blurry flashes. He and my mom were never married. His family never approved of her, she used to party a lot and had a bad name in their small town. That tension meant they lived together briefly but never made it official. His parents made it clear that if they got married, he would be cut off. My dad found out he had leukemia when it was already too late to do much about it. He was 27. But before he died, he got everything in order and left a college fund just for me. His lawyer handled it and made sure I would get full access to it once I turned 18. I knew about the fund from the time I was little. That money was meant to help me get through school without having to worry or rely on my mom to work herself to the bone. For years, it was just the 2 of us, me and my mom. Then, when I was around 8, she met my stepdad, and eventually, we all moved in together. She said she could not stay in the same town where she had met my dad. Said it was too painful. I never met my dad's parents. They wanted nothing to do with me. We would sometimes visit my mom's parents. They were okay, but not very involved. When we moved in with my stepdad and his kids, I was hopeful. I thought I was finally going to be part of a big, loving family. I had built it up in my head. But things turned out differently. I cannot say anyone was mean or cruel to me. That is not what it was. It just never clicked. We lived together, but it never felt like we were really family. I tried. I made an effort in the beginning. I wanted to connect with Jackson and Emma, but they were not interested. Eventually, I stopped trying. After a few months, I accepted that we were just people sharing a house. My mom, on the other hand, was accepted by them almost instantly. They treated her like family, like she had always belonged. That stung. I think part of the reason for that was their real mom, my stepdad's ex, had left them high and dry. I never met her, but from what I have heard, she took off with another man after the divorce and left my stepdad broke and raising 2 kids on his own. So when he met my mom, someone who was steady, the opposite of what his ex had been, I guess she was exactly what they needed. But me? I was just baggage. That is how it felt. Like I was tagging along in someone else's story. No one ever said anything directly, but the vibe was clear. I did not belong. I was not a part of this new happy family they had built together. I used to tell myself maybe I was just imagining it, maybe I was being too sensitive. But deep down, I knew I was right. It hurt to admit it, but I was jealous. My mom had found a new place for herself, and I was still standing on the outside looking in. I kept my mouth shut about it, though. It felt petty. I figured this was just how life was going to be, and I could live with that. Then, a few days ago, everything came to a head. I have been researching colleges lately. I am graduating soon and need to start applying. I was not worried about paying for it, because I knew my dad had left money for me. That was always the plan. But then my mom pulled me aside and told me she needed to talk. She explained that my stepdad had not saved up anything for Jackson or Emma to go to college. Then she asked me to help out, to let them use the money from my college fund. I just stared at her. Jackson had taken a year off after high school, so he would be starting college the same time as me. She wanted me to split what my dad left me so they could go too. The thing is, she has no legal claim to that money. My dad's will made it crystal clear. Once I turn 18, I have full control of it. Even before then, her hands are off it. And I told her no. I was not mean about it. I just explained that I did not think it was right. I did not consider Jackson and Emma family, and I doubted they saw me that way either. Besides, even if I did not use all of it for school, I planned to use it to get started in life, maybe get a small place of my own, cover living expenses until I found a job. I had gone to public school my whole life, and my mom never had to pay a dime for my education. I had been a good student and was hoping to land a scholarship anyway. But even if I did, that money was meant for me, and I did not want to give it away. My mom flipped out. She said I was selfish. I told her, sure, maybe I was, and I was okay with that. I was thinking about my future, just like anyone else would. I stood my ground and said I was not changing my mind. That is when she really lost it. She yelled, called me names, said I had no heart. It was wild to watch. She acted like I had committed some huge betrayal just because I did not want to give away money that was never hers to begin with. She claimed we were all a family, and I was tearing it apart. But where was that family when I spent years feeling like a stranger in my own house? When she finally calmed down, I thought maybe we could talk like adults. I was wrong. Instead, she gave me a deadline, 1 week to agree to share the money, or I would be out of the house. And since I was turning 18 soon, she would not even be legally required to let me stay. I could not believe it. My own mother threatening to kick me out over something like this, something that was not even hers to control. That moment, sitting there alone in my room, I knew I had to leave. So, I reached out to some friends and told them what was going on. I needed to find a place fast, somewhere I could stay after my birthday. One of my friends talked to her cousin, who happened to be applying to the same schools I was. She planned to get an apartment instead of living in a dorm. We talked and agreed to team up if we both got into the same college. That part of the plan was working out. The only thing left was figuring out where I would stay in the meantime. Fortunately, some friends offered to take me in until the school year started. It was not perfect, and it was definitely risky, but it was better than being stuck in a house where I was clearly not wanted. When I heard the plan to move in with my friend's cousin, I thought it was solid. I reached out to her right away. We talked things through, and I explained everything that had happened. She listened. She understood. I could tell from the way she talked that she was the kind of person you could get along with, calm, thoughtful, no nonsense. We agreed on everything. That part was handled. What still needed figuring out was where I would stay until college started. It was going to be a few months before we moved in, and I could not exactly crash on a sidewalk in the meantime. That ended up being easier to solve than I expected. A couple of close friends offered to let me stay with them until the semester kicked off. It was not the most put-together plan, I knew it would be messy, and there were plenty of things that could go wrong, but it was better than sitting in my room every day getting silent treatment from people who wished I did not exist. After that argument with my mom, the mood at home turned cold, not angry, just mean. They stopped talking to me completely. If I walked into a room, they would leave. No yelling, no fights, just this icy, coordinated effort to make me feel like trash. If you have ever been ignored like that on purpose, you know how bad it feels. I could not take much more of it. So, I decided once my friends gave the green light, I would leave. Not long after, my mom came to ask me if I had changed my mind about the college fund. That was my moment. I told her the truth, I had not changed my mind, and I had no plans to. I also told her I would be moving out. I explained that the way she and her new family had been treating me was not just cruel, it was unhinged. I told her I had made arrangements to stay with friends until college, and that I hoped never to see her again. Of course, she exploded. She started shouting again, calling me selfish and ungrateful, and told me to get out of her house. I was already packed. I walked out without looking back. But that was just the beginning. While I had been alone in my room, trying to keep my head down, I had also been thinking about what she had done to me, how she tossed me aside the minute she had something better going for her. For a long time, I tried to stay quiet, to pretend I was okay. But once I got out, I knew I had to speak up. She did not deserve to keep pretending she was a loving mother when the truth was far from that. So, I waited until I was safely moved in with a friend, and then I wrote a post about what happened. I laid it all out, how my mom demanded I give up the money my dad left for me, how she screamed at me when I said no, and how she always expected me to treat her husband's kids like siblings even though they never treated me like family. I was angry. I was tired. And I wanted people to know who she really was. I did not make anything up. I just told the story, as it happened, from my point of view. I even explained that if Jackson or Emma had ever shown me any kind of care or kindness, I might have felt differently. But they never did. The response was immediate. My mom saw it. Her friends saw it. The post blew up, it got shared, commented on, and people talked. She sent me message after message, blaming me for ruining her reputation. She said I embarrassed her. She said she never thought I was capable of something like that. That I was not the daughter she raised. Then came the lowest blow. She told me that if my dad were alive and saw what I had done, he would be ashamed of me. That he would not even want to be related to someone like me. That hit harder than anything else. I started to second-guess myself. Was I wrong? Was I being cruel? Should I have handled it differently? But deep down, I knew that guilt was just another way she tried to control me. I made that post because she crossed a line. And now that people know, I cannot take it back, and honestly, I do not think I should. I was hurt, I was abandoned, and all I did was speak up. After I made the post, I stayed away from my family. No messages. No visits. I went back to school for a few days, and ran into Emma a few times. She looked at me like I was garbage and walked right past me. No surprise there. They had been acting like I was invisible for years. They just had more reason now. Then one evening, my mom showed up at the house I was staying at. She had a black plastic garbage bag in her hand. Inside was everything I had left behind, just tossed in like trash. She dropped it on the living room floor without saying much. My friend and her parents were there. They saw it all. They were shocked. Furious, actually. Her parents told my mom she should be ashamed of herself. That this is not how you treat your child, your only daughter. But she did not care. She fired back, calling me a troublemaker and saying they had no right to criticize how she raised me. It turned into a shouting match. I almost laughed when she called me a delinquent because I had always been a good student, stayed out of trouble, and worked hard. Thankfully, I did not have to say anything. My friend stood up for me. She said her family had more kindness in one hand than my mom did in her whole body. My mom stormed out after that, and I do not think she will be coming back. Not after that scene. And I hope she does not. I need peace. I need space. I need to focus on what comes next. Update 3. It has been a couple of months since all that happened. I have not posted because I have been busy applying to schools, chasing scholarships, figuring things out. And it worked. I got into my top choice. Same school my friend's cousin is attending. We are getting an apartment together like we planned. She is great, by the way. And since she is related to my friend, it feels like I still have that circle of people around me, people who actually care. The past few months have been hard. Emotionally, I was wrecked. But my friends? They carried me through. Without them, I do not know where I would be right now. I used to think I had to do everything alone. But now, I realize the people you choose, the ones who choose you back, they can be your real family. It is strange. My own mother never once reached out after I left. I even unblocked her, thinking maybe she would say something. Anything. But nothing came. Meanwhile, strangers online messaged me with kind words. Encouragement. Support. Total strangers, and they did more for me than my mom ever did. That says it all. Now, I am focused on moving forward. A new start. A clean break. and I am ready for whatever comes next.